y'all? Welcome back to Turning Pages with Jazz. I'm your girl Jazz. If you're new here, we talk all things books, sometimes lifestyle, and every now and then I'll sprinkle in some hair content. But today it's all about the books. Can you guys believe we're already halfway through the year? So I thought I'll hop on today and do a mid-year book tag to discuss some of the reads I've read thus far. And baby, it's been a lot. Your girl has been reading, so let's hop into it. I have a list of questions that I've gotten either from offline or for some of my other mutuals here on YouTube and also TikTok. So, first question is best book you've read so far this year. For me, it was Joliet by Ray Lees. This was a slow burn, opposites attract, forbidden romance. I will have to say, please definitely check your triggers because this book is trauma laced throughout the entire thing. You get faded love, but when I say the character development throughout this, like I said, it does take a while for you to get into the story, but it was so beautifully written. I really enjoyed this. I think it may be my highest rated book this year. I think I gave it 4.75 stars. So definitely that's been my fave thus far. Question two, best sequel you've read this year. For me, it was Go To by Serafini. As y'all know, I think last year I read the first part of Gold, and Serafini was a new to me author then, and I ate it up. It was over 700 pages, and baby, I could have read 700 more. This year did not disappoint when she came with part two, another 700 pages a read. This book is told from a multiple point of view. It is focuses on a young lady named Gold who is in her early 20s, stepping into her own. Book two basically picks up right where the first one left off. So you find her dealing with heartbreak, and just the journey of how womanhood can be a bumpy road and all the ups and downs of falling in love and picking yourself up and moving on. And we also get a newfound love in this story. So baby, it was everything. It ate it up. And of course, it wouldn't be Serafini if it didn't leave on a cliffhanger, but she did let us know book three will be the final book, and we probably will get that maybe in 2027, hopefully. Question number three, a new release you haven't read yet but want to. That would be Score by Kennedy Ryan. It is book two. I think it's called the Hollywood Renaissance series. Book one was Real, which I love and ate up. Is one of my favorite reads by Kennedy Ryan. I think book two is a second chance romance about screenwriter Verity and musician Monk, who reunites after years after a painful breakup. And it's basically they get together because they have to work together on the Harlem Renaissance biopic. I'm looking forward to reading that. It is on my July TBR. I actually have a physical copy that one of my girls bought me as a B-Day gift. So I definitely will be tapping into that. Question four, most anticipated release for the rest of the year. For me, it is Butterfly 6 by Ashley Antoinette. I believe it is set to drop at the beginning of September. And I cannot wait. I think when I first got back into reading a few years ago, the Ethics series was actually one of the first series that somebody recommended to me. And I read that straight through it and went right into Butterfly. And so I think book five of that series for Butterfly was released maybe in 2023. So it's been 3 years and the girls have been reading. I think I read it back in 2024. So I cannot wait to wrap up that series and conclude to see what's going to happen with our girl Morgan, who she's going to end up with, who she's going to pick. I am excited about that, and it's the final installment. This is urban fiction. If you have not read it, Ashley, baby, the way she's going to have your emotions in a book. So I'm excited for that one. Question five, biggest surprise book, better than expected. For me, it would have to be Spotlight by Sheree Lewis. I had read another book by Sheree, I think, sometime last year when I was introduced to her. I think a book that she had during the Brave event that I read. But this was my first series by her, Another Forbidden Romance. And when I say within the very first chapter, I was hooked. The way that first chapter ended, baby, she had me on my seat. And I guess it was a surprise to me because I didn't know what to expect. I went into it blind. I didn't read any synopsis on it. And I ate that series up. It was one of the few series that every time a book dropped in it, I did a video or some type of commentary on it. And I love that. I can't wait to see where she goes next with how that final book ended, to see what other stories we're going to get from some of the other characters. Biggest disappointment for me, it would be Mercedes Forever and Atkins by Connie Easton. It was book 4 in that series. Y'all, I was highly disappointed in it. Like, I really should have DNF'd it, no lie. And I guess I had such high expectations because the first book in that series was Royce. And I loved that book down. Like, he was unhinged. I ate that book up. And then book 2, I think I did DNF just because I didn't care for how the MMC was talking to the FMC. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I DNF'd it. And in book 3, Bentley's book, I loved Such a Patient Man, the way he dealt with the FMC in that. I ate that up. So when it got to Mercedes' book, I'm like, all right, this is going to be the first book focuses around the FMC of the family. So I had such high hopes, but it just felt very flat to me. And Mercedes' character, to say that she was in her 30s, was just very childish. And it was just, I don't know, it was surprising. And another thing I didn't care for is in that book it had a lot of time jumps, and it was like, whoa, wait. I feel like some things need to be more flushed out. We needed more details on things that we didn't get. So for that one, yeah, definitely a disappointment. All right, question 7: favorite new author you discovered this year? This is hands down Ada Nice. She wrote the State of Betrayal series. It is a total of 4 books. 3 books are out. I think book four is set to drop July 9th, if I'm not mistaken. I read the first book. I got it during the Brave event called Tunnel Vision. And she had me automatically I fell in love with the characters. The book takes place in New Orleans, just the lingo, and of course she talks about other cities close, Baton Rouge, Perryville. And baby, when I read a book in this, anytime it's from an area that I'm from and they know how to use the lingo or the language, I eat it up. And I fell in love with her. I cannot wait till the final book drops. As you know me, I'm a Kindle girly. I rarely buy physicals, but I automatically bought those physicals, and I can't wait till the last one so I can order that. Definitely my favorite author, new favorite author this year. Question 8: best romance slash love story. For me, this was also a new to me author this year. The book was Always Running by N.W. Brown. This was a friends to lovers found family. And it was just the banter in this book and the emotional roller coaster and the strength it takes to just put your outset out there, when it's the scariest thing you ever done. I love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think this is part of a series. It was book 1. I believe it's going to be a total of 5 books. I think the 3rd book is set to drop at the end of this month. I believe June 30th. And I cannot wait. Definitely tap into her. If you have not, like I said, this was her first series, first novel she's released. Tap into that catalog. So far, so good. Question 9: book you recommend the most so far this year? It would have to be Watercolors by Evelyn Latrice. This is over 600 pages, and I could have read 600 more. This is found family. Nobody does found family to me better than Evelyn Latrice. Anytime she does it, she eats it up, and she leaves me wanting more every time. And this one did not disappoint. I just love how she navigated this story of dealing with a single dad, a FMC that's going through grief and keeping a lot of things bottled in, trauma. Like, the way she navigates this story, chef's kiss. If you have not tap into that one. Question 10, book you DNF, did not finish, of course. I've actually DNF about 7 books this year, which so far has been the most for me. I've DNF quite a few books. I would say one that may be surprising for some was Our Vicious Oaths by N.E. Davenport. This was a fantasy book. I think it's an enemies to lovers, but I just could not get into the writing style. It just wasn't for me. Maybe at a later date I'll retry it out, but I could not get into it, and I think I did nothing maybe at around like 30%, but it just wasn't for me. Question 11, book that lived up to the hype. It would be Soul Crush by Gabriella G. This was actually the first book I read at the beginning of the year to kick the year off. It came highly recommended. Everyone said 5-star read. This was a 5-star read. The series is a 5-star read. And no lie, 15% in, I almost did nothing. And I'm glad I did and I stuck with it. It is definitely a slow burn. It takes a while for the story to get into it, but y'all, beautifully written. I believe I gave the first book either 4.25 or 4.5 stars. And I think that's what I averaged throughout the entire series. Beautifully done. That was my first read by that author. The character development and how she navigates the story of dealing with mental health with both of the MCs. She did that. All right, question 12, book that didn't live up to the hype. For me, it was Cuffed by a Certified Maniac by Neek Mills. This is another one. It's a part of a series and it came highly recommended. A lot of people ate it, but for me, it just fell flat. I feel like the story overall did not grasp me like it had some other people, and it just wasn't. It was just okay. It was just meh. It wouldn't be a book that I recommend. I do plan on reading the second book in the series just to see if it's able to change my mind about how I feel about the series. But that first book was a no for me. Question 13, favorite audiobook of the year, if any. As y'all know, I am not an audiobook girl. Prior to this year, I hadn't listened to any audiobooks at all. And I think it was just something that just wasn't for me. But this year, I started listening to audiobooks. I listened to a few. They've mainly either been historical fiction, literary fit, or they've been autobiographies and or memoirs, that type of thing. And I feel like I've enjoyed them. I feel like when it's romance, I already have in my head what I think the character's going to sound like. So when it doesn't translate to audio, I can't get into it. But so far this year, of the audiobooks that I've read, my favorite was The Quarter Queen by Kayla Hardy. This was a new to me author. I believe this was her first release. This was a historical fiction with fantasy elements to it. It has such heavy themes within this book. It deals with racism, womanhood, legacy, and power, all taking place in the 1840s and dealing with voodoo in the city of New Orleans. This was a really good read. I believe I gave it 4 stars. If you're a person that's new to historical fiction and fantasy, I would say definitely listen to the audio. It was really done very well. I really enjoyed this one. Question 14, favorite character of the year so far. All right, this one is kind of hard. So for the male characters, I have 2. I have Rich, who was the MC in Joliet by Release, and I also have Wave, who was the male character in Watercolors by Evelyn Latrice. Both of those men were men in all facets of the world. A protector, patient, loving and caring, going to be there for their woman. Anything you need, they're going to come through, stand beside you. But baby, every single thing. I love both of those characters. Ate them up. And then for the female, my favorite female character thus far would be Lumi, which is from Watercolors as well by Evelyn Latrice. I just love how she took that role on, or of being there for his daughter. And with everything she was going through, she still know how to step in and be that stepmama, be that girl's girl. I enjoyed it. Those are my characters so far. And then last question is 15. It's basically a reading goal check in. Am I on track? So for me, I did not have a lot of reading goals going into the year. One was, of course, every year I always set my book goal to 250. I never change it. And I believe so far I'm either on track or I'm ahead of track. Let me see. So far this year, I've already read 140 books. And like I said, we're halfway through the year. So, of course, I definitely should hit the rest of that goal before it comes to the end of the year. Another goal of mine also was to start a YouTube channel. And as you can see, we have done that. And I am ecstatic that I've been doing longer form content, and so just trying to keep pace with that and being consistent. And then the last goal I had was to hit 5,000K on TikTok, which I did back in April. So far all your girls' goals have been coming through. So that is it for the questions. If you guys have anything else you may want to ask me, leave them down in the comments. I hope your goals have been hit, and baby, talk to you guys next time. Bye guys.